Welcome back to the channel, guys. Today we're going to review Flywoo's brand new naked GoPro action camera. This is the 2.0 version right here. It is a GoPro 9. They also have a 10, 11, and 12 Pro. They also have a touchscreen on this, which has been redesigned from the original GP9 sitting over here. It does have a different connector on it. We're going to talk about that versus pros and cons on that. We're also going to show you some flight footage in this video to make it worth your time, as well as some comparison to some of the other cameras out there that you see sitting here. We've tested pretty much all of the decased 4K micro cams out there on so many different types of drones on the channel. It's pretty cool. So I'm going to give you my opinion based on that and my experience. Now, this is not a review. I like to talk about these videos as experiences now and not reviews because, well, it's based on my previous experience, right? So that's what you're going to get and you're going to take away today in this video. And if you're watching this, you're probably interested to get yourself a naked GoPro. And if you don't know what a naked GoPro is, no, it doesn't have any private parts on it. It's actually just a full-size GoPro. They took it apart for you and put it in a smaller case, and they saved you a whole bunch of weight. So for the newbies out there that are just getting into this, that don't know what a naked GoPro is, that's pretty much what it is. It's a slimmed down version of a full-size GoPro. Years past too, also to give you a little bit of history in our hobby, we used to decase our GoPros ourselves. You can still do that. You can look up kits and you can take your own GoPro apart if you already have one, but you're taking a chance when you do that. Ribbon connectors and things like that. If you're not comfortable with decasing your own GoPro, these companies are making it easier for you now, which is pretty cool. So without further ado, guys, let's go ahead and jump into the meat of this review. And let me just show you the best parts about the upgrades and weight comparison and some flying footage in this video experience. Here we go. Now, this is the naked GoPro 2.0 GP9 box right here, and it starts out at $379. It's on sale right now, 5% off from $399. You can go all the way up to the GP11 and 12, which will probably cost you in the $650 range, but they do come with the touchscreen in this box. Now, right away, we noticed that it is a complete overhaul and redesign of the case, which is nice. You can get this case by itself and you can add it to your existing GP9, or you can build it up yourself. If you already have a GoPro 9, 10, or 11, or 12, you can get the various cases. It is fully CNC'd aluminum all the way around, front to back. We have attachment points on the side for vertical mounting and one on the bottom, actually 3 or 4 on the bottom, that will allow you to put the attachment on the outside or dead center like I have it here. So this is an aluminum bracket that also comes in the box, which is nice. Now on the back here, we have a couple new things which are kind of worth explaining and would be probably the reason why you would upgrade to 2.0. First of all, we have that magnetic connector on the back right here, which if you connect it to a GoPro battery, it will allow you to power up and be able to do firmware updates from the powered adapter. I'll show you that coming up. It just snaps right into the battery like this. I put a little piece of 3M VHB down there to hold this down because it does wobble off and it comes disconnected quite easily. We also have the power button here. We have the mode button here, as well as a newly positioned power port right here. This powers from 2 to 6S, and it's cool because this little guy plugs in right here. It has a little snap on one side as well, and it will hold it in place, which is kind of nice. And you can see right here on this side, it has negative to positive here, and you can plug in a 6S battery, which is super great. I did plug in a 6S battery and test it on my flight tests. And also the new USB-C port back here is also a new thing for the touchscreen. And this is nice because this allows us to connect the touchscreen in and out without having a bunch of problems. The previous 1.0 version has a connector that's more of a ribbon cable style connector like this that over time can wear out. So that's a big change from the 2.0 version to the oldest 1.0. This one's not really built to last. You can see it kind of wraps around this sort of 3D printed case around my old touchscreen. So much different. And this may have been a prototype. Maybe they did injection molded plastic when you guys got yours, but this is how mine came. And the brand new one is much nicer. It does have the USB-C port here. It's all in a CNC aluminum bracket case here. Even has a cover over the screen, which, you know, I'm kind of cheap. I don't want to get my screen scratched up, so I'm going to probably leave that on there. It does work with that film cover on there, so I'll show you that attached to it and working in a minute. But I'm super excited that this version also has that vertical outward facing port, because I was talking about this in my previous review of the 1.0 module. I'm not a big fan of the way that the 1.0 module here has it facing. It was kind of fiddly to get in here and plug this in and unplug it. So unless you have long fingernails to get in there and unplug that was kind of a pain. So outward facing power port is much nicer in my opinion. On the right hand side of the new GP9, we do have the SD card slot, and this can record in a variety of different modes. It can record in 5K at 60 frames per second. It can record in 4K at 120 frames per second and 2.7K at 240 frames per second. So a very capable decased GoPro. The new camera also comes with a variety of different types of mounts. You do get a full-size GoPro mount, which is compatible with all the different GoPro horseshoes and mounts. You also get a smaller micro mount for adding to much smaller Tinywhoop size drones and Cinewhoops, and you get a TPU mount in there with a full-size GoPro bracket here as well. So this was kind of hard to get on and off, and I'm afraid that I'm going to damage my USB-C port on the back here. It is very snug. I would almost recommend heating this up a tiny little bit and then pulling it over top of the back, because it is a really tight fit on the back of this camera, and I'm really terrified to damage some of these buttons back here and these components with a TPU mount. So I would kind of suggest using this mount that comes with it. The metal bracket, CNC metal bracket mounts are much better. They can screw on the very bottom or the side like we mentioned before. So if you want to do some kind of vertical video, you can have a bunch of different varieties of mount options here with the smaller one or the bigger one. They both line up, so you can use either or. And on the bottom right here, when you guys go to mount this onto the camera itself, you want to be extremely careful when you're using your tiny screwdriver to put these little screws in, and make sure, double sure that you use blue Loctite on these screws. The last thing in the world you want is these screws to come loose and your camera will literally fly off the top of your quad. So I highly suggest putting a tiny dab of blue Loctite on these screws and then putting them into your case. And I think my favorite upgrade of all, is, aside from the magnetic power point for upgrading the firmware, is the way that the new touchscreen attaches to the back of the brand new GP9. I love the USB-C option. I think this was a really nice, smart move for Flywoo to make as far as changing out that connector. I'm sure some people had quite a time trying to repair or replace this ribbon cable. And, you know, as I know from being a DJI pilot 10 years ago, ribbon cables are and can be a real pain in the ass. So it's nice to see something more durable here that's going to last much longer than this original version here with the ribbon cable. I have this other camera over here, and this is pretty easy to plug it in. But you can see just inside this 1.0 camera, there is a tiny little connection point right inside there. And when this goes in and snaps in, it's lined up really well, and it snaps in kind of nice and tight, and it's easier than it looks. But over time, you know, this is not meant to be plugged in and unplugged tons and tons of times. So if you need to make some settings on your camera and you're doing this every single flight, it's going to wear out that ribbon connector pretty quickly. Now, the new touchscreen plugs in pretty easily, and it will also snap once you plug it in, so you know it's in place. One of the things that Flywoo tells you to do as well is not to do is actually plug in this power source and this power source at the same time, because you will damage the board if you do that. So, you know, use a little bit of common sense there and don't dual power it, because you will definitely fry things. So this USB-C just simply plugs in on the back here, and you can hear it kind of snap into place just like that. And now I can power it with either this port here or the magnetic port. So this one's already plugged in, and I'm just going to go ahead and load it there. Snaps on. Now I can hold this power button, and it should come on the front screen. You'll see the front screen here, and it flipped over to the back screen, and now it wants me to update the time and date inside the Quick app. So we can go to the Quick app, or we can set it manually. And it's pretty easy to do the firmware update. You're just going to go inside the Quick app, and it will ask you immediately if you'd like to update the firmware. If you're plugging this in for the first time, go ahead and do the firmware update, get it to the latest firmware on there, and you'll have a much better experience with your new GoPro. Now, Flywoo also makes a bunch of different lens filters for these types of GoPros, and these are compatible with the 1.0 and the brand new 2.0 cameras. They're the same exact size GoPro lens on there. So you can get the 6-pack here, which has a whole bunch of different varieties. You can also get the new 4-pack, which most people, they don't really seem to use all 6. So you might save yourself a little bit of money if you get the 4-pack. Now to my favorite part of this video is the weigh in. We're going to weigh all the popular cameras out there right now that I have here to show you. So we've tested all of these, and all of these do pretty good. 55.8 grams, that's with the battery connector because that's part of the equation, as well as this mounting bracket gets you up to 60, right around 60 grams for everything there. 59.9 for that setup. And if you're going to weigh the 1.0 version, this one's actually a little bit lighter. Even with the battery connector here, we're looking at 50 grams on the dot. And if we add that connector right there, this bracket, we're looking at a total of 54 grams on the dot there with that bracket. So that's not too bad. Now the original GoPro, if we look at the GoPro Hero 10, I mean, look at the size and weight difference there. Much larger, 152.8 grams. And again, imagine shaving it down to 55.9 grams there. So you're saving yourself like 100 grams worth of weight there, almost 100 grams. That's a really nice weight savings. Now the next most popular cameras out there are the GoPro 8, 9, and 10 from Geprc. And this is unbelievable that the Hero 8 weighs in at 27.9 grams. And I still use this camera. It is super lightweight. It doesn't have all the bells and whistles that Flywoo cameras have, and it's not quite as nice. The trapdoor on here is kind of fiddly for the SD card. You just push this up and down. You're just bending the plastic right there. Whereas these Flywoo cameras don't actually have any SD card protection on the side of these doors. You're just going to push it in, and that's that. So you do risk losing an SD card in some of these types of designs. Now this is the Beta FPV SMO Insta360 version. This was popular a few years ago, 32.1 grams. The super popular Thumb Pro 4K, it's a decased micro cam, 15.9 grams, one of the lightest weight in our community, as well as the CineStar. This was also a Hero 8 at 36.7 with that cool carbon fiber cover on it, kind of like that. That one has a 3D printed case in the back, and actually has a little XT30 connector there for adding onto a separate battery, which these types of connectors I like a lot more. And again, you can run this up to 6S, which is super cool. This is a Insta360 Go 2 at 27.2. And the Firefly X, also a very popular cam. This is the lightweight version. We'll just go ahead and leave that cable in there. That's 40 grams, so that's quite a bit lighter. And I feel like, as far as durability goes, the Flywoo cameras with these types of cases, they do feel much heavier than some of the other ones like the SMO, and especially the GoPro Hero 8 from Geprc weighing in at 28.5 grams. But as far as durability goes, it's going to be much more durable. Just feels nicer in my hands. But if weight is a factor, that's really going to be the determining factor of what 4K camera you get, and what you're flying it on really depends on how much weight you want to save on your aircraft. So at this point, after you've seen all of those different cameras, now you're scratching your head and you're wondering like, oh my God, which one should I get? That really depends on, again, I said previously in this video, it depends on you, what you're flying, what quad it is, what your job is, or if you don't even have a job, if you're just making videos for yourself, go for something cheap. Get yourself a Runcam Thumb Pro 4K. Those are great little camera. It has ND filter sets you can get for it, but it's not going to be something that I would use for a real estate job. If you're somebody who's watching this video and you're looking for information on which camera you should get for real estate video, every single person I see out there is happy with the GP11. So I would 100% get the GP11. Get yourself the Flywoo version or the Geprc version of a GP11, and you're going to be making professional videos for real estate, and you're not going to be disappointed shooting in 5.7K at 120 frames per second. So very nice camera. You can get the GP9 and get away with the same thing. This one still records in 5K, not 5.7. So a little bit of a slight difference in resolution, but you're still going to be able to come away with some really beautiful real estate videos. And it's not likely that you're going to be carrying a full-size GoPro indoors with a Cinewhoop. There is not really there's no quality difference between this camera and this camera as far as the internals. Just being decased doesn't devalue or underappreciate the footage that you're going to see coming out of a decased camera versus the full-size camera. What this gives you is more durability. This one will almost certainly survive a plane crash, whereas this one may end up broken, but you'll still pull out the SD card as long as it didn't burn up into a ball of a flaming fire. You can probably still recover your video. So both of these cameras are great, but we should jump into some flight footage, and let me end you in this video with two different flights here with my GP9 in the same location. And this is the stock settings set to 4K. So yeah, you guys make the decision what you want to get, 9, 10, 11, or 12. It's nice that Flywoo has done these nice upgrades for us, and I think the upgrade's worth it, especially starting in at around $380. Not bad. But if you appreciate these reviews, guys, please do become my Patreon. It's a lot of money and time and effort and editing to put all this information together for you guys and put it on YouTube. So it's a lot of work, but I appreciate my Patreons are already here in the channel and supporting what we do. I appreciate you. Thank you. And take care, enjoy the footage, and I'll see you on the next one.
I say hold up, got my glizzy, bang bang.